Welcome to Tutorial 5, the final part of the e-commerce workshop. In this tutorial, you're going to be running your e-commerce marketplace app. The goal will be to bring all the microservices together in one application and getting it all running. Let's look at an overview of what we've built so far. The application can be broken down into three basic sections: product, currency, and comments, and a fourth being the front end. The payments service, which has to do with the currency, controls the transfer of funds from a buyer to a seller upon purchase of a product. The smart contract used to create the service creates the token that represents value, distributes those tokens, and manages the transfer of tokens on behalf of the users. These transactions are then recorded on the blockchain and can be confirmed by the appropriate blockchain explorer. Next is the comments service. This allows customers to leave reviews and comments on particular products. These comments are then recorded to the appropriate blockchain. The smart contract used to create this service records the comment text and the product ID associated with the comment. The contract can then recall all the past comments for each product. And lastly, the purchase service. This is a basic product management system. It controls the creation of new products, including the details of the product, such as a product name, quantity, description, price, and more. It then stores that data. This contract also manages product stock and contains a ledger of product purchase history, including the customers who purchased the product. Once we have our front end set up, we can pull each service together in the index.js file. Now let's take a look at the front end. In this tutorial, instead of breaking down the entire index.html file and index.javascript file, let's take a look at some of the general concepts behind these files and the way that they interact with each other. The core piece of the index file that we interact with is the product template. Inside the product template, we create and store most of our data. The bulk of the DOM manipulation is achieved through the JavaScript library jQuery. If you're not familiar with jQuery, whenever you see it in the index.js side, it will be marked with the signature $. That means that object is using the jQuery library. Here's an example. And of course, this application is using a standard index.html file, but you could, in your application, use any front end that you would like. We happen to be using the Balma CSS framework and native HTML. Feel free to use what you're most comfortable with. Now, let's take a step inside the index.js file. There are several key actions we want to respond to when a user is interacting with our application on the front end. The first is logging in. When a user enters their credentials at the top of the page, it maps their username to a specific wallet in a series of wallet addresses. This wallet will then be associated with any interactions the user has, such as purchasing a product. The next key action is purchasing a product. When a user clicks the Buy Now button on Product Card, a function is called to the payment service and purchase service. If the payment is successful, such as if the user has enough money to buy the product, and if there's enough stock of that particular item, then the purchase is recorded and the funds are transferred. The index.js file gets the appropriate ID of the product a customer intends to purchase from the data and ID attributes associated with the DOM elements created from the product template. Which brings us to our next component, printing each product and creating new products. Products are generated on the front end by retrieving an array of product data that has been stored on the blockchain. The appropriate data is then distributed on a unique copy of the product template, including images, description, and price, and then displayed on the page as a product card. More products can be added by users filling in the Add New Product form. Once submitted, the data in the form is sent through the purchase service to the blockchain to be added to the list of products that are available. Finally, customers can leave comments and reviews on specific products. When a comment is submitted in the index.js file using jQuery, we can retrieve the text that has been submitted and the ID of the product that the comment is associated with. This data is then sent using the comment service to the Link API and finally recorded on the blockchain. All the appropriate comments are retrieved from the blockchain when the page loads and displayed. Let's do an application overview. Now that we have the front end and microservices figured out, let's take a look at how they all tie together. It's pretty easy to follow. Each microservice acts independently from the other service and from the front end. This means that the services can be transported to other applications with ease, say if you wanted to build a mobile app instead. The index.js file then acts as the glue that ties the interactions of each microservice and the front-end HTML together. This keeps the front end independent from each individual component and will make it easier to add new features in the future. Each microservice also interacts with a blockchain network via link, as we have seen in past tutorials. Finally, let's get it running. The last thing we need to do is run our application. Make sure you've installed Parcel.js from the Parcel.js website. Now open up your terminal and run the command npm start, or alternatively, partial source/index.html. This should start up the Parcel server and run the application at localhost port 1234. And that's it. If everything's up and running, you should see the following website.